Drum solo going along now. Lucky day, you know darn well, my little baby, now I can't give you anything. I can't give you anything. I can't give you anything but love. This is Samuel Ulano saying, have fun with your drums. Yeah. We're going to play some rest, skipping the repeat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Boop ba doo da digga da doo da 1 and a doo ba da doo da doo ba da. What do you like to know?
So Sam, can you tell me very briefly, just the story of your life, just for very short?
You want my drum music life or my life itself?
Both. Yeah.
I was born on August 12th, 1920. So that makes me now 88 years. August 12th, I'll be 89, and I'm a twin with my twin brother who lives down in Florida.
He's still going? He's still going?
Who's that?
Your twin brother still
going?
He
lives down in Boca Raton. He always sits on his butt, you know. And but that's another story. And my life has been strictly. Somebody said to me the other day that I was amazing to him because I'm doing the same job all my life for 79 years. I never did anything else. I started at 13, and I've been drumming all my life.
I heard you started teaching right away, right?
I started teaching when I was 15. And I wrote a book called Bass Bops. In fact, I had a copy here. It was my first drum book, and it was the first drum book to come out between hands and feet. Open it up, you'll see. This was published in 1948. That's
wow.
60 years ago.
Wow.
And it was the first book on hand and foot, and everybody thought I was crazy. I said, yeah, but I saw Gene Krupa playing Sing, Sing, Sing at the Paramount in 1935 with 2 feet and 2 hands. I said, why can't I do that? And I started to write this book. And this book is still on the market and still going.
Wow.
It's one of 3,800 drum books that I've written at this
3,800.
38. 3,800. So,
Sam, how come people have called you the drumchiatrist?
I made that word up myself.
Oh, you made it up? Okay.
I made it up. Well, teaching is like a calling, and it is, you get into somebody's brain.
Sure.
Yeah, I've had students. I have right now about 7 guys that were alcoholics, going to meetings and all that. So some are with me 4 or 5 years and broke that problem. Why? Because they replaced that, what we call a bad problem, with something to occupy their brain.
Right.
Was trying to get better at the instrument, and they all did. My teaching is different than anybody else that's teaching all around the world. Everybody, I think, is buried in tradition, and if they don't get out of it, they'll stay there. They'll never move. They won't get off the dime. They're still holding on to what happened yesterday and yesterday's history. And tomorrow, you don't know about, he don't know about, he don't know about, and I don't know about. When I wake up tomorrow morning about 4:30, 5 o'clock, then I have another 24 hours of my life. That's what the 24 on that thing says. You don't have anything else but that 24 hours. If you read my book, it's the first topic in the book.
Right.
It says we got 24 hours, nothing more, nothing less. Now, what do you do with the 24 hours? That's the trick. So what else would you like to know?
So you said we all need to have a system. Why do you say that?
You got to have a system. Otherwise, life is going to be disrupted. It's so obvious. I get up in the morning every day about 4:30. I do my duties, and I get dressed. The first thing I do is 2 days a week I have breakfast in the senior citizen building I live in. And the other days that I come here, I start teaching at 6 o'clock one day and 7 o'clock and 7:30 another morning. And I have my breakfast delivered, and I write books. I wrote in 2 weeks, in the last 2 weeks, I wrote 13 drum books.
Wow.
Why? Because I got a system. You know what? Think of this. Supermarkets, a bank, the police department, the fire department, the government, the world, everybody has a system because they're organizations. We may not like them, but they get things done because they're organized. The average person by himself, if he doesn't stay organized, oh, gee, I forgot to send my taxes in, or I didn't keep track of this, and all of a sudden is trying to remember what they did. Well, where were you last week? They can't remember what they did with their life. So if you got a system with your life, whether it's the system that you want to keep going, and evidently it's doing something for you, so that's the system you follow.
So you're saying we need one. Without a system,
Without it, you're screwed.
We can't
You're
develop.
messed up. You got to have a system.
So
I
what?
appeared before the Senate in 2003.
Oh, really?
The Senate Committee on Aging. Myself, Lynn Swan, formerly from the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Judy, I forget her last name. Anyway, there was 4 of us on this panel discussing what senior citizens can do to help them live a better life. And the problem with I live in a senior citizen building. Everybody sits on their duff all day long. They can't wait for breakfast and they can't wait for lunch. And what do you do all day? Man, what is there to do? You know, there's a lot to do. I leave the place at 6 o'clock in the morning. I come here after I have my breakfast and I start writing, or I start teaching, or start practicing myself. I practice with a system.
What's the source of your infectious positivity?
My what?
Your infectious positivity.
My infectious what?
Positivity.
What is the source?
What's the source of it?
It's inside me.
But what's the source?
What? Where's it come from?
Yeah.
Well, without me, I guess I sound conceited. So I'm going to be conceited. I know what I'm doing. I'm never confused. When you and I spoke on the phone 2 weeks ago, so forth and so on, I don't know if you heard somebody tell you what kind of a nut job I am or not. You got to be crazy to be in this business. You know that. But really, I'm not. I think I know exactly what I'm saying.
So the source of your sense of positivity is confidence?
It comes from knowing what you're doing. You know what you're doing?
Yeah, I think so.
Aren't you positive in what you're doing?
Very much so.
Well, it's got to come from knowing what you know in your field of
yeah, but there are
enlightenment.
there are other people that are 89 that live productive lives and that knew what they were doing in their work that don't have the positivity that you do at your age.
Well, they don't have any purpose for their life anymore at that time.
Right.
What is my purpose? I still have students. I make a couple dollars in the teaching. My positivity is in how I write. I've written all these books, and not 2 of them are the same. You say, how could somebody do that? George Gershwin wrote, he died at the age of 38, and he wrote 500 hit songs, plus an opera, Porgy and Bess, the Rhapsody in Blue. Come on. If the brain is capable of doing that, if you don't get Alzheimer, you know, that means your brain is shut down.
Yeah.
If my brain is not shut down, it's wide awake. 1 and 2 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 triple 2 triple 3 triple 4 triple 1 2 3 5 2 3 5 3 2 5 1 triple letter 2 triple letter 3 triple letter 4 triple 1.
So what's the secret to happiness?
Well, it's hard to say this to a lot of people, but it's true. I only did in my life what I love to do. I have a passion for what I do. You got to have a passion for it. You want to have a happy life. I go to the post office. There's people that I see there already for 30 years, 40 years, getting fat, out of condition, and can't wait to retire, and they don't retire. Well, if I do another 4 or 5 years, I'll get this in money, and they're unhappy in their life. If you do what you love to do, but you know that what you're doing, it's got to, see, I don't believe in doing a job that might be nice, but it doesn't give me any kind of reward. I'm not talking dollars and cents.
Sure.
I have 3 letters in my, what's called my philosophy of life. It's called HEF, health, education, and finances. Without those 3 pieces, you're a dead duck today. Think about it. First of all, the first one is the key. Without good health, you can, I don't care if you weigh $100 million and you have cancer or diabetes or Parkinson. Louis Belson died from Parkinson. He was a dear friend of mine for many, many years. Max Rhodes died from Alzheimer. Papa Joe Jones was in a Veterans Hospital dying from cancer. And I and Max Rhodes were the only 2 guys that visited him. Here's a guy who was about 74, 75 when he passed on. And he's trying to light a cigarette. He was half his weight. He said, "Nobody comes to see me, Sam. Where's all my friends?" I said, "Well, they probably got jobs," and I try to give them some excuse. You know, but that's what happens. So I think it's got to come from inside you. What else would you like? Can I tell you?
How do you develop self-confidence?
Well, you got to know what you're doing and why you're doing it, and you can't predict the results at the end of the line. But I was able to, when I was 15, I started to write. I wrote that book, Bass Bops, when I was 15. And at that time, I knew that I had a writing talent. I don't know what it was. And I used to sit and write. I had about 35, 40 kids studying with me for 50 cents a lesson.
Really?
They were coming to my apartment in the Bronx. Yeah. And I knew within inside myself that I was on the right track. And I used to be told by all my relatives, I come from a very big family. My mother had 2 sets of twins. We were 10 children, 5 boys and 5 girls. And everybody used to lecture me. "You're never going to make a living out of playing music. All musicians are starving." I said, "You know all the musicians in the world? You know everybody in the Philharmonic, in the Boston Symphony, in the Chicago Symphony. You know everybody in Benny Goodman's band, Harry James' band, Woody Herman's band. And you don't know anybody." Well, I know a guy who, you know one guy out of 300 million people in the United States. Give me a break. You know, you've heard that expression.
Sure.
So it's got to be within yourself. You say, "Well, how do you know it's there?" I always say it's like love. You'll know it when it's there.
Do you have to have a natural gift in order to succeed?
Well, meaning a natural inborn talent?
Yeah.
That's debatable with me because somebody says he's a born drummer. I never saw a baby come out of his mother's womb with a full set of Slingerland or Gretsch drums start swinging on the day he was born. We have a talent.
Yeah.
A lot has to do with who you meet along the way, who teaches you. I studied with 40 different teachers in my career. It's the truth. Today, I can honestly tell you, nobody knew what they were doing. I did a lot of what I'm doing, I had to do on my own, through 10 hours a day practicing. It was nothing for me to do 15 hours a day.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I still play on an average of 10 hours a day at 88. What are you talking about? But the question is,
If you have to have a natural gift in order to succeed.
I don't believe there's such thing as a natural gift. I'm a big believer there's a God. I don't debate that with any. That's for myself. I talk to God every day. I don't go to shul. I don't go to the synagogue for Yom Kippur. I teach on Yom Kippur. I teach on Rosh Hashanah. I do it on Passover. I don't eat matzahs only. I eat bread. And so far I looked up to God and I never died. I told him I'm teaching on Yom Kippur, and he says, "Go ahead. Nobody even sees you. Don't worry about it."
So when you say
As a
God,
guy goes to the Wailing Wall in Israel,
Jerusalem.
and a guy goes, he sees an old man. He says, "You come here every day?" The old man says, "Yeah." He says, "How old are you?" He says, "I'm 95." He says, "You coming here every day?" He says, "And you pray every day?" He says, "Every day." He says, "You ever get an answer?" And he says, "No, it's like talking to a wall." He tells him. But
So what does the word God mean to you?
what does God mean to me?
Yeah.
Well, it's my inner self. I don't know if it's the same thing it means for everybody else. But I've always had a feeling about myself, as corny as it might sound, that something is watching over me. Call it God, call it whatever we're going to call it. But I've never had a problem. I never lost my voice. I'm able to sing. I can sing it fairly. I know lyrics to maybe 500 songs.
Wow.
I remember telephone numbers for almost most of my students and family and all that. I don't have to look in my book and see if I got it right and all that. So somebody said I'm blessed with whatever it is. But that's the feeling I have about this thing. I can't give you proof on whether there's God or not. Neither can anybody else. But they can't give me proof there isn't. And I don't believe Charlton Heston's God. Definitely not. Oh, how do pick Viennese waltz, but the jazz waltz and the Viennese waltz are the same thing. Most guys, you say, "Can you play a Greek 9/8?" Greek 7/8. Or Missile. They don't know that. They know how to bash the drum set and destroy the instrument and wind up with a loss of 80% of the hearing.